I'd like to introduce members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and members will address your questions, and so feel free to ask each member a question. Congressman Bobby Rush from Illinois, Congressman Al Green from Texas, Congressman Keith Ellison from Minnesota, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton from the District of Columbia, Chairman John Conyers from Michigan, Congressman Mel Watt, Carolina, Congresswoman Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick from Michigan, Congressman, excuse me, Sanford Bishop from Georgia, Congresswoman Marsha Fudge from Ohio, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from New York, Congresswoman Donna Christensen from the Virgin Islands, Congresswoman Gwen Moore from Wisconsin, Congressman Danny Davis from Illinois, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas, Congresswoman Maxine Waters from California, Congressman David Scott from Georgia, and Congressman Lacey Clay from Missouri. So please feel free. Congressman Al Green, did I introduce you from Texas? And Congresswoman Maxine Waters from California. Okay, ask any member any question that you like, but thank you again for being here. And I want to thank Congressman Emanuel Cleaver again for his leadership in getting our jobs task force organized. Okay, right here.
Thank you. Have you seen enough of a commitment from President Obama to target black unemployment specifically? The White House said in response to a question recently that the president's view is that economic recovery will affect all Americans. It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific program for black Americans. I wondered if you agree with that, or would you like to see more of a direct commitment from the White House?
Of course, the president is the president. He's our commander-in-chief of Congress. It's our job and our responsibility to make sure that we are advocates for our constituents and that we ensure that these gaps, and some of us call these moral gaps, are addressed in our legislative proposals. And so we are presenting, and that's why we wrote the letter to the president and our leadership to ensure that the resources and the provisions of the jobs bill are inclusive of all communities in our country, and those hardest hit, of course, which happen to be communities of color, the African American community, Latino community, and many poor whites. Your name and who you're with, sir, please, everyone.
Peter Nicholas, Los Angeles Times, Washington Bureau.
Right here.
Hazel Edney, NNPA News Service. I need specifics on when you say job creation. What kinds of jobs? How do you go about creating jobs specifically in the black community? And can you do that geographically?
Well, I read earlier, and anyone can comment, Congressman Bobby Rush, who is co-chair in Jobs Task Force for our leadership, but we specifically have targeted language, which is developed by OMB, and it's in the letter, to ensure that what we're doing allows for targeting of resources of no less than 10% to what is areas of economic hardship, where the poverty rates are 20% or more below the federal poverty line. And that's how you make sure that the funding and the provisions of any jobs bill address those most impacted and communities of the highest unemployment. Would you like to share? Congressman Rush and Congresswoman Kilpatrick.
I think that one of the primary focuses of any comprehensive jobs program has to have an enormous amount of concentration on young people. Young people are at a sub-depression level. 25% of unemployment normally signify that it's a depression. Well, on average, 27% of our young people are unemployed. In the African American community, that number jumps up to about 47% of young African American youth are unemployed. And so, what do we see as a result of that? We see idle young African American youth arise their frustration levels that gets portrayed, and antisocial behavior drops out. The prison rate is climbing. The incarceration rates are climbing. So it creates so many problems for us, and I think that one of the focuses that we need to have is a focus on employing youth. We can employ youth right now. It's a job that can get out of, before we leave for the Christmas break, we can have a substantial employment program